Hey guys, welcome back to Mimir. Eduardo Aguirre built a WhatsApp food ordering system for a friend in 7 days. 90 days later, he had 300 customers, $450,000 in revenue, and a fleet of motorcycles he'd taken loans out to buy. That kind of number makes you feel like you've made it, but it's also the number that almost ended Eduardo, and most of this episode lives in the distance between those two things. Eduardo's on his third company now. He was a Microsoft partner developer and an Apple genius before any of that. And he got his start years earlier, at 13, charging people to jailbreak their iPod touches so they could put real apps on them. When he and I talked before the official recording, we chatted about the perfect metaphor for founding a company. It's just like in a video game, you can't skip levels. You have to play level 1, pick up the tools, and earn your way into level 2. But as he pointed out with being a founder, there is no final boss to beat. What it costs you to ignore that rule, where you can't skip levels, is the through line of this conversation. He tells me about a time when he should have shut down his second company and didn't, and what that year took from him physically. He makes the case for a growth rate most founders would be embarrassed to say out loud, and explains why you have far more power to push back with your investors than you think you do. He says that listening to your gut as an early stage founder is actually the worst advice that you can get, and what he listens to instead. And for anyone building with AI right now, he has a one-sentence test for whether what you're making has a future or will be erased by the next model update. The other thing that I thought was really cool about Eduardo is that he gave the CEO title up on purpose. 10 years of running his own companies, and he's a CTO now, working with a co-founder he met as a customer, because building is what he actually wants to be doing. It took him a decade and one very expensive company to get comfortable growing at a speed he could survive. So if you're in a season where everyone around you looks like they're moving faster, or you're getting pressured to move faster, then this episode is for you. Eduardo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat. When we talked off air a little bit, you walked me through your first company, and I thought it was really cool how you named it Darwin, because you believe that when you teach somebody about technology and through that they're able to solve their own problems, that is evolution. And I love that philosophy, but I wanted you to take me back to little Eduardo. Like, how did you come to be this person with this ideology?
The little Eduardo. Okay, I think it was back at 2017 after college. I got the opportunity to become a Microsoft Gold Partner developer. So I learned everything about code. And then I had the opportunity to be an Apple genius and go inside on the Apple stores. And I realized in that moment that a lot of people buy technology. I mean, a lot of people, of course, buy the new iPhone, but less than the 10% of the people who actually buy these iPhones or these new technologies know how to use it. Mm-hmm. And because a lot of different scenarios, I'm going to skip that boring part, but I realized that when people know how to solve problems around their lives, by definition, that's evolution. So they are adapting to the situation and they're solving the problem that they have in their lives. And I think in this moment is 2018, late 2018, and I realized I wanted to start something. So I have experience building products at this moment. I know basic stuff around how to run a business because my prior experience, and I decided to found the company who was at that moment Darwin. It was Darwin Tech and Marketing at that moment, and it was more like a software factory. So business owners bring me problems, and then I build solutions for them. So that's how it started. And at that pandemic in 2020, a friend of mine asked me for a system to make food ordering systems through WhatsApp. Back in Mexico and Latin America, the operational system is WhatsApp. So he asked me, hey, can you build me something so people can order me food through WhatsApp? And then I will go like a digital drive-through for WhatsApp, something like that. And yeah, we did that in, I think, maybe under 7 days. We had the functional product. He spread the word with all other business owners, and they asked me for the delivery. We figure out how to take loans to buy motorcycles, cars, how to pay like other Uber drivers or couriers around all other platforms. And we grew up so fast in the first 90 days. We crossed the 450K in 90 days. So we grew up so fast, but also that was like our sin. But yeah, I think I'm
No,
advancing on the story. That's how Darwin started.
no, and I want to talk about that specifically also, but going back a little bit, do you think you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or do you think it's just something that you sort of like happened upon?
That's a really good question to answer, because I remember my version of myself of 13 years old, my teenager version. And I remember I started, I'm sorry to say this, but that's how I started. Do you remember the iPod Touch? Okay, when the iPod Touch came into the world, the apps didn't exist. It didn't exist, the app stores. Back then, that's how old I am. Back then, it was an app that it was called Cydia. And through Cydia, which was later, we came with a name for jailbreaking the system.
Mm.
So I installed Cydia to people who bought the new iPhone or the iPod Touch, and then I realized that people can pay me some money because I'm solving this problem. There's a lot of applications. Again, in this moment, the iPhone and the iPod Touch, I think the only app that was inside of the iPod Touch, within the iPod Touch, it was YouTube, and nothing else. A calculator and notes. So it was literally the moment that the new world, the world 2.0 started with these new apps. And I started helping people to have this kind of access to apps. So that's how I started my first journey as an entrepreneur. And then I learned how to code. I started making websites. Funny enough, I learned how to code apps, but I never made like I want to make this app and became like a startup founder. For me, at that point, I didn't even know what being a startup founder was. And I think it literally was the age, because it was 29, 20, 27, 29, 20, 27. A lot of the startups didn't exist back then.
No,
So
it's funny. I feel like I'm very much the same way, where I feel like I've always kind of known that I wanted to own my own company, but I never had an idea for what it was going to be at the time. And it wasn't until like, the universe sort of lined up in a way that the idea then came to me. So I feel like I relate a lot to that, where it's not necessarily that I like fell into the job. It's more like I've always been wanting, and it's just never been the right time for me, at least. Obviously, you are now on your third company. Is that right?
yeah, right now I'm in my third company.
Okay. So slightly different, but kind of along the same vein. And speaking of companies, I want to go back and talk about Darwin a little, because I think another thing you and I bonded over in the like pre-interview is this idea that you can't skip levels in a video game. Like, you have to play every level, you have to get your skills and level up sort of in the traditional way, because the alternative sometimes, and I think as founders, you want to skip levels. Like, you want the hyper growth, you want the like sexy, sparkly startup story. But I've always felt a little bit cautious about that, because I think it'd be really hard. Like, suddenly you're confronted with the challenges that you don't feel like you're ready to solve yet. So I'd love to talk about Darwin, and like, I think you sort of gave us a little bit of foreshadowing there, but I'd love for you to dive into that.
Yeah. Again, this was 2020, 2021, I think. And we grew up so fast. We at this point have over 300 customers. We are over 450K in revenue. We didn't raise money. We get founded by debt, which actually was like my first mistake. And so like, this is the point, or this is the moment if we are going to raise money, because we figure out how to scale a business. But at that moment, I did not raise any like formal or VC or angel investor check. And thank God we did not make that, because later, because of the scale and the amount of customers, the amount of orders that we were receiving at that moment, it was really difficult to scale the product. Again, this is before AI, so at this moment there's no cloud that we can ask for, like, how do we solve this in the product. And I think we bonded in that idea of this is like a gamification experience in which you start at level 1, you earn some skills, or you find new tools that you can work with, and then you go into level 2, level 3, and then you are with the final boss. And actually later you realize that there's no final boss. You keep
There is
going.
no,
Yeah.
there's no
It's
final
like
boss.
it's like this world in which a great power comes with a great responsibility. That's exactly
Mhm.
the same skills and the same tools that you need to acquire on every level. So that's my experience and the way I learn it in the bad way, how to slow but steady pace, sometimes better than an hyper growth. Of course, VCs, angels investors, especially when you're a first time founder, I think you have a lot of pressure for investors to grow faster. And you also learn that when you have some experience, that you have the power and the voice to say to your investors, no, we are going to grow at this pace because this is the way I feel confident to grow the company, not just for the next 3 years, but for the IPO or the next decade or 2 decades. But when you're a first time founder, it's like you feel all that pressure. And if you have the fortune or the blessing to find a way to grow fast, yeah, then you will have a new happy problems, but you have more stress than not having that growth.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. And I love that you bring up that, like, as a founder, you actually have the power to push back a little bit on your investors. Cause I don't know if have you ever heard of FIA? Have you heard of this like scandal that just recently occurred?
I think
Okay.
so.
They're a
Refresh me,
tech
please.
startup founded by two women, one of which actually happens to be Bill Gates' daughter. They raised like $35 million in funding for their app. And then interestingly, like some of the funding, people wasn't just from VC, like it was from celebrities like the Kardashians and stuff like that. And it was kind of crazy because everybody was talking about this app and it was seemed to be growing really fast. But then they just recently got called out for a scandal in their industry. They do affiliate marketing. And so they were doing something like what's called cookie stuffing. Anyway, I won't get into the intricacies, but what I thought was really interesting about that is I imagine that those girls were under tremendous pressure to show performance. And what they did was sort of a way of like the negative side sometimes of that, of like what I think happens to founders who are really pushed and don't feel confident that they can say no and push back against hyper growth at the cost of their customers, their reputation, all to like make the optics look really, really good. So I think that's a great point because I think usually we talk about this and founders are like, you know, they either say, oh, just don't raise until you feel ready, or they sort of give you some tips and tricks around how you can work around it. But it was really refreshing, I think, to hear that you can actually just push back and be like, actually, no, this is how we're going to do things.
Yeah, and it's not the end of the world. You can do that not just with investors. You can also do that with your own co-founders. Like say, hey, yeah, we are like we are in a good in a group in a good growth. We don't need to like force or keep pushing on a hyper growth. I think everything it's okay if you're growing on a double digit per month. That will be like a healthy growth.
Mm-hmm.
Where other companies want like triple digit a month, and of course you can have it, but then you will be on the next level without the skills and the tools that you need to manage in order to survive and go to the next level. So
And
it's
it's
a funny.
nice. And it's nice to hear your perspective too, because I feel like, I don't know, I'd love to get your take on this, but I think sometimes your ego as a founder wants the sparkly story and wants to be able to say like, oh, my company has triple digit growth. But I think there's sort of at the risk of sounding like Claude, like a quiet power that comes from, or like a quiet sense of confidence that comes from recognizing how you can actually produce consistent results over a long time, that to me sort of offsets the initial ego drive to say yes to hypergrowth. And I'm curious to see, like, has your relationship with growth and ambition changed over your experience as a founder over three companies?
Yes, a lot. And actually, I do have friends who actually are like third or fourth time founders with previous exits, and we agree on this. Like, more you have experience on this world, on the tech world, it's like you want less to depend from investors, and you want like less to depend in external factors. So you can achieve a good growth. I mean, Chatbase and Menchat are one of the best companies that I know that in the current world are over $10 million in ARR and are 100% bootstrapped. And I think that conversations is not that often. It, they doesn't happen that often with the founders meets or the events that you go, because that events creates ego, and the ego is like the worst poison that you can have when you are an entrepreneur. Of course, you see these stories from like all the Stanford guys who make the drop off, and then they started a company, they raise $100 million. But the other part of the coin that doesn't that is not shared that often is like those 100 million, one, are not their money. Two, the investors expect at least a 7x return on the next 10 years or less for that. So literally you are trying to make a 1 billion revenue business, or you're going to be dead. So it's
Gonna be dead.
yeah,
It's funny, like I having been in San Francisco and starting obviously like a physical product, so very different. But I feel as though the world and the reality that I live in now is very much informed by the tech space. And so many people I talk to, like to your point, the headlines say X person raised X money from X. You think, oh, that's what I want. But the more people I talk to, and my brother is also a tech founder, so I feel like he and I talk about this a lot. And when I started my company, he was like, do not optimize for taking in extra funds. He was like, do everything by yourself, build a kick ass company that is attractive to those people. Cause like, yes, it's going to be, you want to be in a position where people want to offer you that kind of stuff, especially if you want to exit at a later date. Like you want to set yourself up for success for the future. But he was like, do not optimize for them. Just build a kick ass company that they want a piece of. And then like
exactly.
that is going to be enough for you.
And when you are a first time founder, you don't think about you don't even think about an exit or having an exit,
Mm-hmm.
and an exit is part of the process. And once you understand that, is how fast can I build a product that is good enough to the world acquire a piece of it, and then sell it, and then start and and I think the best entrepreneurs in the world do that. I love Google because of that. Actually, Google is my favorite company because they are experts on killing projects. Actually, there's a website that is Google Graveyard, in which are all the more than 300 projects that they have killed on the last, I think, 5 years, and and they are experts on that. Like, this works, well, this didn't work. Okay, let's kill it and move on. But you never stop like creating these type of things.
Yeah, I think the entrepreneur is really just obsessed with building. And this actually leads me really well into another thing that I wanted to talk to you about. But I feel very much this way where like I mean, never say never, but like I cannot imagine myself building a company and I'm still the CEO, like when we get to like a corporate phase, when you have like employee leveling systems and like strict performance reviews, or like my best friend works for Amazon and she's like, every day I log in and I have to like answer a question in order to get to my Gmail account about like, how do I like working at Amazon? I'm like, that sounds like actually my nightmare. So I feel like I'm very much the person that's going to build, hit a certain point, pray, like my mouth to God's ears or whatever the phrase is, but like hopefully be able to sell at a certain phase because I am obsessed with the building phase and I don't know if I always want to get to the next portion of that. And I feel like you're kind of similar, and the approach that you've taken with your current company is different from the approaches you've taken with your others. And I think it's because of this like build mindset. So I'd love for you to talk about.
Okay, this is like a really introspective
Introspective.
question, yeah, moment for me, because I love to be CEO and I love to make business. I'm a businessman. I'm a natural entrepreneur. But I think, and we have a lot of conversations with this circle of founders that I just share with you. We have our personal lives.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no balance between being an entrepreneur and personal life. And the one who told that there's a balance, it is a rookie or it's first project, because there's no balance. They live together and they need to like have this coexistence world, like this utopian world in which you have some like deals with that. I don't know how to say this. Like, you need to make rules in your personal life that your business respect those rules, and also your personal life needs to respect your business rules. I think that's the way you get along with this. And in my case, one of the greatest moments is I became a dad last year. So it was like, thank you. It has 10 months old right now. And then I realized, like, okay, I'm ready for the next venue. I think we skipped the part between Darwin Food, which was actually the business that I told you that we grew up so fast. It was another company which was Darwin Now. Darwin Now, it was like a WhatsApp CRM and more like a lovable thing for this type of business. They could build with Darwin like their website or their point of sale system, whatever. But it was focused in 100% in Latin America and Mexico. That project right now is in a due diligence to make a good exit. So I'm not involved anymore in that part of the business. But back at October of last year, I realized, like, I really enjoy to building products, because I built a lot of little indie projects, and I saw like it makes sense, like the next project to me to get involved in building the product, because maybe this is the last time ever that humans will be involved on creating something.
That's so
So
true.
I met Marie, my actual co-founder, as actually my first customer on the project that I have. I built this kind of infrastructure that allow you to create fast enough your agents to deploy, and like to you to see the ROI on the implementation of the agents. And Marie was one of my first customers. Then, because a lot of discovery calls that I made through a lot of companies, I realized that these companies were more excited about implementing AI agents in the customer success side on the implementations and reducing churn. And Marie has a lot of experience on this world, on the enterprise world. And she said, like, hey, it makes sense to us, like, build this company. We came through 3 months trial period to see if it was like a founder fit. It was more like an arrangement marriage. I think that's the word.
Yeah.
Again, because he has experience, I am experienced. We know like what to find in a founder, and it makes sense to me at that point, like, to become the CTO after being like CEO for almost 10 years. And I'm very happy, very excited, because I'm building stuff, and I'm building stuff in the best moment of human history to build things. So also, I think that the most important CTOs needs to understand the unit economics behind the product, because if the CTO doesn't understand the unit economics, you will have like a great product that can kill you, that literally can kill you on the scale. So I understand both worlds, and we give it a shot on the CTO, and I'm very happy with that decision.
I think that's so fun. And do you feel like, as a person that is working on this company, do you feel like you have a sense of freedom and fun that maybe I don't want to say like you didn't have before, but I'm curious to see, like, how do you feel emotionally now about building this product than you did with your other ones?
I feel a lot of pressure, like it's not anymore in my body. So that's naturally a good sign. I feel happy now, because the nature of how I started Darwin, I think, again, I didn't have experience in that moment, but I didn't kill Darwin at the moment that needed to be killed, or yeah, it was maybe 2022, 2023, the moment that I would kill it. And then I decided to keep going with it, and it was very stressful. I promise, if you look into my Instagram's pictures, I had hair right here on 2019. I lost literally 4 fingers of hair because all the stress
Yeah.
that I had at the moment. So right now in this company, I'm very happy because I understand what I'm building. I actually share a lot of these experiences with Marie, because Marie only had like one prior company before Stiri. And I share this experience. Like, it is completely normal. You're going to feel like the world is against you. You you're literally going to feel sick every single time you're there. So I think I bring in more value in that kind of advisory to my own company as a co-founder, because she and I have 50%, which actually is a very weird deal to find as a CTO. Usually the CTO has only maybe 20 to 30%. But I know the value that I can bring to the company, and Marine knows that also I can help with that type of stuff. And that makes me feel very good because I this is like having the fruits of all what I planted on the last years, as at least on the personal and professional way. And yeah, I'm very happy with it.
That's really amazing. And I want to talk to you about what you said, which is like this time as a founder is very unique. And you kind of like low key said that, who knows what humans are going to be building in the future and like what actually building looks like in this age of AI. I think, my circumstance is slightly different since I'm building a physical product, but there's still a lot obviously that AI does to help me. Like, I joke all the time that Claude is my co-founder because without him, like, I would be way less efficient. But at the same time, I think from an early stage perspective, sometimes for me at least, it feels like the list of things that I can be doing any given day is quite long. Like, I could ask Claude, what should I be working on today to like move my business forward? Or, there's a human element of business that still is slow. Like, people take time to respond to emails, or it takes time to get feedback, or you might not be scheduled to sit down with your lawyer for 4 weeks. And like, that's just the situation of doing business. And so I think about a lot of like, how do you prioritize based on whatever stage you're in? So like for me, I'm pre-product. So everything that I'm focused on mentally is around building a great product and building an audience. So then we have a successful first launch. And like anything that doesn't fall within those two categories for me is like a later problem. And I will cross that bridge when I get there. So I'm kind of curious, like, how do you think about building a tech product in the age of AI, and how do you prioritize based on your stage of business?
I think it's a whole different game, because when I built before something, the hard part was building it. It was like the schema, the database, that make the integrations. And actually, that was the motive. You could build something and someone else couldn't. In other words, it's if you were able to build something first than other developer or any other company, then you will win that battle. And right now, it's more like having a genie in the bottle. It is like, what do you want? And in principles, I think also people who know how to code have like a little advantage over the people who doesn't know how to code, at least the good ones, because you need to prepare. You need to like make your backlog list on what are the functions, what do we need to build first. If you are like building a product to be used by millions of users, is a whole different architecture than maybe building a system just for a couple thousand users. So sometimes Claude and like all these LLMs, they doesn't care. They are just like literally following orders. So you need to be more wise on what is going to bring more value to the company. For example, right now in Siri, we're finding out that our enterprise customers, the champion doesn't have access to all the data. Usually are the TI guy or the customer success manager or even the founders. So instead of keep going with new integrations, instead of keep going and growing the product with new features, we stop at everything and said, okay, how can we make this happen in in under a minute?
Mm.
So a single person could connect all the organization's data. So thinking on that, it's very, you're going to face like hundred of solutions if you ask this to Claude or Gemini. In the technical side is like, we know that if we take the option A, B, or C, then we're gonna get blocked because Google doesn't allow that, etc. I'm just throwing some words right here on some examples, but I think we are getting closer to that moment in which LLMs will think about that,
Mm-hmm.
and then at that point, every human being could be able to build whatever they want. But that not necessarily means that something needs to be done, and you still need to have the skills to understand, like, okay, do we validate this before we build the product? Yes. Okay, how do we do it? A, B, B, C. It is a very weird moment to be honestly a human.
It is. It's crazy. I think like people, and I find it also interesting that this is happening in the same age as the creator economy is also increasing. I think AI and just like the time that we're in is really encouraging people to think in a different way than we have before and operate in a different way. I think people see opportunity as being everywhere, where I don't think that that was the case for our parents. Like they felt like they had a very limited avenue towards whatever opportunities they could make for themselves. Whereas I think nowadays we think so much grander and we're like, no, you can build an app in a weekend. You can start posting on TikTok and make millions of dollars in theory. Like opportunity is now abundant, but to your point, because opportunity is abundant, finding success is almost more challenging. You have to really narrow down and be very clear on what value are you providing and ensuring that it's actually something that needs to be solved. Because I think there's a million problems out there, but like, does anybody even care to have certain ones solved? And that comes back to the founder in thinking these things through. So then that way you can build your own success.
Yeah, it forced the founder to like understand more the problem and the details behind the pain of the customer. And I think that's the basics before AI. And now that we have AI, and like the speeding of building something is anymore the mode of a company, it is more valuable. Like, do we understand well the problem? Which moments of the day are more painful this for the customer? How they are solving this right now? And I think a founder right now that is building a tool with AI, it's going to face the reality that can be erased in one moment with a cloud update, or
Mm.
or can be like replaced with any of the biggest LLMs futures. I think a lot of about this company. It was PDF GPT, which was actually the first company that created something to upload a PDF and start talking with your PDF. It was gone in one day after ChatGPT bring this as a future. So
Yeah.
the way you need to think about, and I shared this thought a lot with other founders, the way you need to think right now to building a product is, my solution would get better if the LLM get better. Let's say in the medical cases or medtech, can we bring a solution to any disease faster if the LLM get faster, or the LLM get better? If the answer is yes, then you need to build it. If
Mm-hmm.
the answer is no,
Then like,
maybe you're building a future for the LLM, and you will be key by an LLM. And this is something that Sam Altman shares a lot. Like, do not build products thinking on the future. Build products thinking on, my product will get better if GPT-8 is AGI or not.
mm-hmm.
That, I, that's how I think founders should be building products in this area.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really good advice. And I think that philosophy, I think could be applicable beyond just tech companies. I think it's like this mentality of how do you build a product that outlasts and continually solves the problem. But I think to your point, like that comes back to as a founder, you need to understand what problem you're solving and whether there's some like real legs there and a future for it or not. Because like to me, I'm already thinking, 10 years down the line in terms of like dreams of what it could be and how it expands. But of course, I only made a plan for like a year out because I have to get there first.
Yes. Yeah, it is, again, this is a very weird moment to be human. The best thing that we can do is keep asking if the problem that we're solving, it is the good one or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to ask you what I call your founder stack is, which is 7 rapid fire questions about your journey thus far. Are you ready?
Okay, let's do it.
What is a tool that you live and die by?
I think Claude.
Me too.
Yeah.
Claude is my co-founder.
Right. I think all humanity that are involved in the tech world is Claude right now.
Yep. I mean, even for me, I use Claude every single day. I would not be as efficient without him.
Yeah, Claude.
What's the best money you've spent on your business under $5,000?
What's the best money? I was not prepared for this question. I think all the knowledge that you can acquire, it's not a specific tool or a specific use case. It's more like a philosophy. Like if you can spend money on yourself and acquiring new knowledge, that's the best use case scenario. And I can think like I love personal development, a lot of Tony Robbins experiences. Yeah, I think that one was one of them.
That's a great answer. Okay, what is one book or resource that influenced your entrepreneurial journey?
Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill.
That's a great one.
Think that real book. I read it when I was 20 years old, and it has all the values that make a person to be wealthy, not just rich, because money is a tool. You can build incredible tools. You can build incredible stuff with that tool. Also, you can kill or you can be killed by that tool. So you need to acquire all the values to make not just richness, but a wealthy story in your life.
Yeah. It's funny to me how some of these amazing books like that, 7 Atomic Habits, like these books age so well. Like it doesn't matter what year we're in, but that's how you know that it's a great philosophy to live by because it is still true even in today's day and age. Okay. What's one belief or assumption you had when you started your entrepreneurial journey that is now completely reversed?
Follow your guts. It is the worst advice that you can receive. Like, follow your guts.
Tell me more.
When you start, you are like, I love this term. It's optimistic pathologic.
Pathologically optimistic?
Yeah. Or all first-time founders.
Pathologically optimistic.
Because you're building something that doesn't exist, and you need to believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you ignore the data, sometimes you ignore the feedback, and sometimes you ignore like the important stuff to take good decisions and stay alive in your life. So yes, there's a certain amount of follow your guts, but you understand with the pass of the time that it has more weight to listen to your customers, and it has more weight to listen to your own team members, to the data that you can see on the screen on your dashboard, than just following your guts. So I agree. Think that's something that on my first project I was like, no, I know I have to do this, and I know I can do this, and right now it's like I need to listen before to speak. That's my philosophy.
Yeah, and I think there has to be like a small voice inside of you that's like, wait, don't do it. And if you ignore that, like that's on you, to say like, oh no, like I am going to persevere through what is this like perceived roadblock, even if deep down you're like, no, don't do it. That's on you for sure. But I think that's really refreshing to hear, because I feel like you hear a lot of entrepreneurs be like, no, trust your gut. Like, you're going to know, but it's your first time, like you actually probably don't know.
Exactly. And of course, sometimes in some scenarios, you need to follow your guts, but mostly when you are taking decisions about the business, you need to first take decisions data driven. If you don't do that, then you are just building a like a feeling company, like a sentiment company, and not a real company. That's my, I mean,
No, that's a good distinction. I like that. Okay.
thank you.
No matter how crazy your day gets, what is the one thing that you look forward to that you are unwilling to sacrifice?
Time with my family. It's like I do not sacrifice time with my family. My day and my calendar are blocked until 8:30 a.m. Before that time is all of my son, of my wife. Through the days, we realize that it's better to have like a 1 hour, 2 hour family quality time rather than maybe just the weekend. So that work for. And also, it's like all the rules that we set as a family, I share it now with my co-founder. Like, say, hey, I have these agreements with my wife, and I'm going to respect those. And at the same time, all the agreements that I make with Styria and you and my company, they need to respect those agreements. So I'm not willing to sacrifice those agreements and time with my family.
I think that's a great philosophy too, to say like, here's what my personal life demands of me and here's what I'm not willing to compromise on. And then here's like what's going on in the business that I can't compromise on either. So then like both sides are aware of where you need to be and when, so nobody's messaging you being like, oh, why aren't you online or whatever. I think that's a great philosophy and something I'm going to implement myself. Okay. Last two questions. What is a brand in or outside of your industry that is really inspiring you right now?
This is a good question. I'm thinking. I think this is gonna sound so cliche, but it's real. It's Google.
Okay, I think it's a great answer.
I remember I started using Google back at 1998, so it was not this monster that is right now. And I had been like looking all the evolution of all these all their stages. I was there when they acquired YouTube, and I was a YouTube user before they acquired, and then I saw this philosophy on how they take something and build it in pro of humanity. But most importantly, what I shared previously is the skill, because it is a skill to kill something, even if you think it is going to work, but the data is showing that it's not going to work the way you want it. You need to kill that break, and that is really, really difficult to do. And yeah, I think the other one should be like SpaceX for building all this stuff that physically that are impossible physically, and they do not care about what is physically possible or not, and they are building like this incredible infrastructure to space. So yeah, I think those two come.
I love that philosophy. Okay, last question. What is a song or album you have on repeat right now?
Till I Can't, Cody Johnson. That's my favorite. It is a country song, which actually it's Till I Can't, Cody Johnson. It shares the story of like all those little moments and all that opportunities that you take advantage right now, or it might be gone for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So that's my I promise that's my last 2 years on my Spotify rap. I'm the top 0.01 listeners of that song. So yeah, it's in repeat mode. It's three times a day. I'm addicted to coffee, so I prefer to listen to that song.
Amazing. Eduardo, thank you so much for being here. This was such a fun conversation.
Thank you so much on sharing this time, and happy to be here.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. You can find all the links to connect with Eduardo in the show notes. And if you feel called to support the podcast, leave a review or comment below. If you're looking to contribute, I would be deeply honored if you wanted to buy me a matcha. The link is below. And if you enjoyed this episode and are looking for more before the next one, dive into the well on Substack. There you'll find more founder wisdom and essays on entrepreneurship. See you guys next week.